I'm 69dB. I've been involved with the free party scene and all kinds of rave for the last 25 to 30 years. I've been involved particularly in the development of live improvised mixing with live set, something that has its origins with people like Orbital or Persons Unknown, but something that we developed from that point on. Into what eventually became known as Tribe Techno and Hard Tech. I'm from the Spiral Tribe sound system, and so we are also originators of the Techno movement as well. So that's kind of the history.
So what's exactly Spiral Tribe?
Spiral Tribe was a kind of, if you like, it was a sound system that came together around about 1990. From people who'd been pretty much around the northwest London area, and we'd all bumped into each other at raves, and around that time we'd had the first law coming in to try and stop the acid house party phenomenon. And when those laws came in, we'd all at that time been going to acid house parties, and bit by bit found ourselves getting pushed more and more towards clubs. And I think you could say the majority of people in the Spiral Tribe were motivated by trying to find a way of keeping things illegal and keeping things in warehouse parties or outdoor events, and trying to keep them in a way that would mean that people who earn minimum wage or unemployed people could also have access to rave without it just going directly into expensive rave parties, etc., etc. So I think that's the kind of real origins of why Spiral Tribe came together. But also, Spiral Tribe was a very open door thing. You know, that's the reason why today we use the name SP23 for the projects we do, because it's in respect to all the different people who were a part of Spiral Tribe who aren't with us at this point, you know, because Spiral Tribe was so many different people. And also some of the things that Spiral Tribe got respect for were also done by other sound systems like Circus Warp, Circus Irritant, Bedlam, you know, the list is very long. It was a movement that was happening at that time. We, I think, were more vocal than most, I suppose, and we also had a policy of not turning our sound system off and carrying on to the bitter end, which is the reason why when Castle Morton happened, it was our crew that got the rap, because we left the last. Simple as that. It wasn't that we made Castle Morton, we were a part of everyone who made it, but we left last, so the police got us, you know. So that's kind of maybe why Spiral Tribe started to become a bit more well known. And therefore, at that point as well, that's the reason why we had to leave England, because we couldn't work anymore. Once we were that well known by the police wouldn't let us alone. They were tapping our phones, they were raiding our office, they were following us around in helicopters, and every time we tried to do a party, they'd be there before we got there because they had our phones tapped, you know. And so it became increasingly difficult to do things in Britain. So most of the crew wanted to go out to Europe, and that's how we found ourselves in France and in Italy and in Germany and places like that. This is the reason why I guess what was happening in England came out through us to Europe, because we got chucked out first. You know, it wasn't that we were doing something more or better or worse than any of the other sound systems, it's just we wound up over in France in particular before everyone else. And the French were very, very open, you know, they were ready for it. Mainly because the French club scene is not for, as they say in France, the smicard. It's not for the working people. It's not for minimum wage or unemployed people. It's for people who've got money, quite simply. Paris clubs, even today, you know, it's all about paying like €8 for a small beer or €12 for a whiskey coca with security in your face. And, you know, you need money to go out in Paris. You have to, you know. And so, you know, I think that's why the French were so receptive to what we were putting on offer, because we were saying, well, you know, you can come to a warehouse and do it for free. And it was just like, everyone went there. It was an explosion. And over the 1990s, the initiatives that we put in place, like Technoal, which is something that we created, and also just the general free party ethic, which came out at that time, was something that through the 1990s took the people from clubland, took the people from commercial raves at a massive level, to the point that by 1999 you were getting Technovals with 100,000 people, you know. And that's, that is a real sign that there was something that clubland and the commercial raves in France had overlooked, which was, if you really want to do something that's going to be respected, you need to charge a fair price. Now, it's not easy because of the tax that gets put onto raves. Like every drink in France, I think 50% is tax. So it doesn't make it easy, so this is a problem. But the simple fact is it took the government in France to bring out a law called the Law Mariani that had to come to kill the rave scene so that they could bring people back to the clubs. The crazy thing about that is that when the clubs got the people back, instead of going, well, you know what, we lost them for 10 years because we were too expensive, they should have maybe gone, well, let's have a think about this and do, clubs that minimum wage people can go to as well. But they didn't. They just carried on, business as usual, big prices. And so now, 10 years later on, they're about to lose it again because the people are getting restless. There's a lot of people with no money and they can't afford to go clubbing. So the free party thing is still bubbling and it's still starting to come back through,
So who's a person who decides, okay, tonight I'm going to listen to techno in a festival, and a person who says, no, I'm going to a free party? What's the difference between these two people?
I think the thing that needs to be looked at maybe more than that is what have we learned? You see, I think this is the thing, 25 years has gone by since the first Spiral Tribes parties were happening, and we're forever getting name checked as being a major influence on an awful lot of people who make free parties. And even Boomtown, Lack, in an interview recently, named Spiral Tribe as the granddaddies of the movement, So right through, we get the understanding that we were very important actors in the beginning of what was happening and what developed. So to a certain degree, I think what we're feeling now as a crew is we should maybe start looking at what have we learned. Because, you get an idea 25 years ago and you've no idea how it's going to pan out. You've no idea what's going to happen, After 25 years, you've seen it from every single fucking angle, and you know that some things are good and some things need to change. Now, for me, on the free party level, there's a real need to understand that the model we created, free party, has one very big problem. It can't look after its own. It can't look after the people who are sacrificing their lives to bring you the party. How many times have you heard about recently a free party sound system getting busted, losing their equipment and needing to find a lawyer? Now, very rarely have we found people support, coming in and going, right, we're going to get your system back, There are many, many people who have put their lives into free parties. And from what I've heard, this festival here comes from a free party sound system called DMT. And they evolved into this for exactly the same reason, that the free party is like an expensive hobby for a sound system. It's fucking expensive to run and hold together, and it's time consuming and it's difficult to do, So if the community itself can't look after its own, what happens is the most talented and experienced people eventually go, well, fuck it, I'm gonna have to go over there and find a different way to make some money. Now that's stupid, it means that the model doesn't work. If you've got a model based on the idea that there's only one way to make money, everyone has to make money the same fucking way, well, it's not gonna work, because you're gonna be selling the same thing to each other and there's not gonna be no one to buy it, So the free party went wrong, in my opinion, because of that basic factor, that there was no hope for people once they'd gone from the 5 year to the 10 year to the 15 years of dedication, for them to balance their lives. Now, I don't know anyone in free party, full stop, who wants to be rich, you know? I just know people who want to balance it and get to the next party. Now, I think free party is something that needs to change. It needs to move into a expected donation, you know? This is something that can massively help the free party scene. Now, I heard of a sound system in Milano the other day that took an expected donation. They were able to pay all of the musicians equally, look after the sound system, and also help defend prisoners from the G8 riots in Italy and help them with their lawyer fees. Now, to me, free party could move in this direction. It's possible. There's a lot of resistance from the public, but then I say to the public, have you not got €5 for these people who've been dedicating their lives for you? And if you tell me you haven't, you're a fucking liar, because I see you spending your money in free parties. You know, everyone spends their money, you know, and I see it. And you think that other sound systems in our movement don't see you spending your money? You think we're stupid? We would like it if you would look after us as much as you look after some people who make a lot of money out of free party. So that's the basic hypocritical problem we've got in the free party scene. The free party scene is up its own ass because it is giving money to some people and then criticizing other people if they need to get a living, you see? Now that's a big hypocritical thing. And the problem is free party often stands up and tries to say it's better than the other scenes because we're underground. Well, I'm sorry, if an underground scene can't look after its own family, what kind of underground is it, you know? Now, this is something we can't carry on with. Something has to change. Otherwise, free party will never evolve, you know? Can you imagine if you supported your local sound system, you would mean that they could actually focus on what they're doing, look after their equipment, pay for lawyers' fees, you know, if they lose their stuff, look after their friends who may be gone to prison for this or that, you know, look after their community and give back, you know? And you see, free party, for it to work, would have to be done on a kind of cooperative level, you know? Spiral Tribe today, the SP23 crew, when we work together, we earn equal. It doesn't matter if you're the VJ, the artist, the star DJ, the guy who does the sound system, you all earn the same money. This is the point. Free party has always been very scared of the idea of money for some reason. The moment you talk about money, you're off the fucking vibe. The moment you talk about money, you're commercial. But everyone seems to forget that some people make a lot of money in our scene, and are they not commercial? But they never get called commercial. You see what I'm saying? It's only when the musician or the sound system talk about money, then we're fucking commercial, right? That's stupid. People have got to fucking wake up. Now, if the public are going to be so fucking stupid, how can you expect the sound systems to want to carry on? All the sound systems is getting like this. Well, fuck it, man. We've done so much. We get nothing back. And every time we need help, there's no money, you know? And if we ask for the money, we get called commercial, you know? So that's a fucking problem. And I don't see how free party can carry on unless we address that problem face on, you know? And the answers that come up are things like this, festivals like this. Then everyone complains, oh, it's €200 to get in. Well, you know, the people who made this festival for years were giving it to you for free. Now, if they've had to come to this place and compromise on such a hard level to make something as big as this, it's because they didn't get the support from the model, which was free party. So, you know, I think that's the whole thing. The lesson that has been learned from those 25 years is that we need people's support. It can't just be a one-way street. It needs to be a two-way street. And with any luck, with communication, the free party sound systems in Europe are going to start moving towards this direction. We'll see, you know.
Yeah, okay. But that was a very interesting point that no one else has given.
I think it's the best point
Best so far.
up until now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On a musical level, for you, what do you mostly like when you play in a free party and when you play in a festival? What do you think are the differences?
Well, as I said before, we were very much involved with developing the idea of improvised techno, you know, improvising with machines. Also, all our DJs don't come with pre-prepared set lists. All our DJs will go with the feeling. So, I mean, I think it's interesting. I think the only thing you can say is when you play in a free party, the energy level's there because it's exciting, it's illegal, you're somewhere exciting already. And you're in such a nice, wicked place that the music's kind of like an add-on, you know? And as a musician, it's a hell of a lot easier because you're in a place where, you know, like everyone's excited. So you just whack in a bit of anything and it just goes, wow, you know, way up, you know? Energy levels go through the roof, you know? And everyone knows that whatever you want to say about it, a proper illegal warehouse party or open air rave where you have people respect going on and people love, there is nothing that beats that. No Ibiza, no big festival, there's nothing that is better than being in an illegal space and making a techno party. That's the best. So, you know, as a musician, it's a lot easier, you know. When you're in a festival, there's already a pretty good vibe going, you know, but it's slightly more sort of like you've got to be on the ball a little bit more to get things going. But then in saying that, if you've got 2,000 people in front of you, it's a lot easier to get the energy going than if you've got 2 people. So if you wind up being the DJ who only has 2 people and at the end of your set, they're going like that, you know that you've got something, you know. When you're in front of 2,000 people and you kick it, you're always going, well, was that me or was that just because it was a good vibe out there, you know? So that's one thing, but then also the other one, which is clubs. Now, clubs, that's a completely different thing. Clubs are normally shitholes. You know, they are the worst places you could ever want to fucking go, you know? And so basically, as a musician, when you're in a club, it's down to you. Because quite honestly, if a DJ gets on in a club and it's shit, the guys are sitting there going, fuck, we've got an hour and a half, and what we're gonna do? Drinks are fucking expensive, nowhere to go, can't talk because it's too loud, you're bored shitless. So basically, a musician has a major responsibility in a club to show the magic, to show that they can bring through the music, that they can surf the wave, you know, and find that point of resonance between the music and the dance floor, whereby it clicks in and everyone goes through the roof, you know. That, clubs are reserved only for the most talented, because if you ain't talented, don't play in a club. You're gonna bore the shit out of everyone, you know. That's why free parties are great places for people to come up in, because you get used to playing in front of people, get used to working with people and learning the trade. But doing that in a club isn't very fair because there's no way out and people have paid money to come, and it's a horrible place to be in a club if the music's shit, you know. So clubs are reserved only for the most talented, and if you haven't got the power to turn the place on, don't bother playing there.
So you mentioned like you guys, you come from the free scene, but and sometimes you also play in clubs and festivals, but you still play in spot parties.
Yeah, of course,
right?
yeah.
What do you think of those DJs who, when they become famous, they decided that, I mean, those DJs that come from the free scene, and then when they become famous, they don't play anymore for free parties, but they only play when they're paid in a festival or in a club?
I think you just have to keep an open mind, you know. I think one of the worst things we do in life is judge each other, you know. That's the worst thing we do, you know. Because number one, no one knows what the fuck we're doing here. No one has a proof of what life is. We're born, we go through it. The least we could do is accept the fact that no one knows what truly is right or wrong and give each other a bit of room, you know. So if a guy goes off and does that, keep your eye on him. You know, say, okay, you're doing that for the moment. It could be in 5 years he'll come back and play in a free party because he's on a different thing. That's my point. True freedom is that my freedom stops where yours starts, you know? And the one thing you have to have in life is don't put bad vibes on other people, you know? So, you know, if someone beside me thinks that it's the right thing to go out and make shitloads of cash, who am I to say they're wrong? Because that, to me, is their right. You know, on you go, mate. Let's see what happens. If I think that that isn't the way, the last thing is for me to go and tell him all the time, oh, you're wrong, because that makes me stupid. You know, it makes me a bad vibe person, you know, whereas I should just be like, cool, you're doing that, no problem, you know, don't let it touch me, that's fine, you know, we'll see. I'm happy this way, we'll see in 5 years and see what it looks like, you know. So that's really the important thing here, and it's a big problem in the free party scene. Everyone's always pointing the finger at each other, oh, you do this, or you do that. Jealousy's a fucked up thing, you know. And for me, you know, if a musician is going to these places to play for money, it's because the free party scene can't look after them, you know. And when you start having kids and when you start having the pressure of day-to-day grind coming into your life, you know, because you're no longer just 20 hanging around having a party and it's all cool, that as you get older, things get more pressure, you know. So basically, when those pressures start hitting you, if you can't be looked after by where you're from, you have to look for it somewhere else. Now, what would be nice is if we can reverse that. And that's my hope, is that, as I said before, if we can reverse that and make it so that the free party can look after its own, then you'll probably find that those guys won't actually go anywhere. They'll stay where it's happening, because the free parties are way better than anywhere else. You know, everyone knows that. No matter how good this festival is, it ain't nothing like a warehouse party. We all know that. You know, 5,000 people in a warehouse just shits all over any festival you could ever think of, you know. There's nothing, no competition, you know. So that's it, you know. Most DJs would want to stay in that 5,000 person warehouse, kicking it illegal style. Of course they would. But if they have to come over here to make some money, it's because we're letting them down. So they don't need you to slag him off or go, oh, why doesn't he come here anymore? Well, if he doesn't come here anymore, maybe because he doesn't feel it and because he feels that people are not being cool with him, you know? So it could be that. It could be just he's a wanker. You know, who knows? Well, you know, but just let him do his thing and look after your own fucking shit, you know?
What are the reasons that made the techno movement increasing, becoming bigger and bigger throughout the years? You know, as you said, in the 1990s it was definitely smaller, while nowadays it became definitely bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think boosted this movement?
I think it comes down to the fundamental thing that if you look at just the explosion of information, right? We're in a world now where there's a fuck of a lot of information kicking about. You know, I think someone was saying in 1 week we get more information than a guy in the 80s would have got in a week or something like that, you know. It's a lot of information kicking around. Now, people are becoming more and more aware of how we're all being screwed. You know, I think we've always known we're being screwed. I mean, just look at history. It's a never-ending thing of rich against poor. And of, you know, how many things like, you know, look at the Spanish Revolution, how the anarchists were massacred. Look at the Paris Commune, how the anarchists were massacred. Look at how the Red Army went to kill the anarchists, you know. Bureaucratic structures have always fucked over the free people, you know. And we're living in a world of propaganda. We've all grown up through it. Now, I think there's a lot of pressures on people during the week. Most people go and work. Most people have to pay taxes, most people have to pay the rent, most people have to, a lot of pressures on them, and most people have to find it in ways that are really not very cool. You know, service industry jobs, you know, factory jobs, you know, a lot of things that are really hard to do. And it has a really negative effect on you. And then fucking go home and watch the TV, for fuck's sake. You know, there is non-stop propaganda hitting you from adverts, from everything, and people are not stupid, you know? And the human spirit needs to feel, you know, it needs to feel something positive. Now, for me, Jimi Hendrix, years and years ago, just before he died, he talked about the electric church. Now, the electric church is as he would have described it, is when you're there on the dance floor and you feel it. You're on the electric church, there you are. You're feeling the shivers, you're feeling the energy. You're connected to the music, the synergy's there. That's the electric church. When the DJ fucks up or loses a beat and you come out of it, then you're no longer there, it's gone. And Jimi Hendrix's first record was Are You Experienced? Now, you're in your own head, you'll never be in anyone else's, and you don't even know what you're fucking doing here. So these little lights that come along when a DJ gets it right, and you have that moment of pure connection with nobody standing between you and the source, you know? No book, no priest, no one's in your way. It's you directly connected to your inner, you know? And you feel the orgasmic energy that can be, you know? Then at that moment, that's when you start to realize that there's something beautiful at the center of everything. And we're living in a world of shit, you know? Some people call it Babylon, you know? So, you know, I think that's the reason why it mushrooms and gets bigger, especially when people get access to it, you know? It's a dangerous place to be, though. You have to be careful because you can go very up and you can go very down. And if you disrespect your freedom in those free spaces, you can come into big problems, you know? So this is why, you know, I guess there's always this thing coming in, oh, it's dangerous and all that from the authorities, always trying to shut us down, you know. But we all know when they put, you know, perimeters around it and police, there's still people who die and things like that. So it's a load of rubbish, you know. It's once again them trying to overplay their authority, you know. So I think these free spaces, when they actually work and when the energy's there and the connection's there, they're some of the most magical, wonderful things that transform the life of everybody, because it's that few moments where it really connects and you go really in. That's the biggest, baddest moments of your life, you know? And that's where you get your connection to the truth, you know? And when you've seen the truth and you know the truth because you know it, not because someone told you it, you can't be changed, you know? So it spreads and it spreads, and it's necessary in this time, you know? And I think it just grows because of that. The important thing then is the communication afterwards and how we organize it. And I think there's a heavy need to come together and work out ways to go forward, because at the moment it is kind of turning, but it could be done a lot better, you know. And it's such a precious thing, you know, it needs to be protected by everybody, you know. But that's the point. We all protect it, you know. We do this thing called Dharma Techno. It's a meditation retreat where you do 5 days of silence. And on the 4th day, after meditating and being in silence for 3.5 days, I take you into the music through nature sounds to ambient, to tribal, to house, to hard tech, and then back, you know. And then we go back into a day of silence. All through that experience, the number one thing you realize is how all of the world's problems are in you, you know, because you become face to face with the real fucking problem, which is the part of your mind that is perpetually looking for things, having things, wanting things, taking control, the ego, if you want to call it that. We've all got that problem, every one of us. So, you know, I think in those moments when you dance properly in a rave, you manage to put that to one side a little bit and you get something that you can find in meditation, which is realizations of truth, you know, and those things are very positive and can have a very positive effect. So that's why everyone is holding this together, and if we all look out for each other and help each other, then we can make this amazing. It's when people lose that respect and things degenerate, that's where the problem comes in. But you see, that's where another thing comes along, which is very important, which is transparency. Transparency is the number one thing. When you do anything with money, you have to be transparent. You see, the free party scene's all been running away from money for so long. But you see, if money is in the area, you have to be transparent. Like we do in Spiral Tribe. We know, everyone in Spiral Tribe knows exactly what was made. We know exactly where it goes, and we all get an equal share. Now, if you want to work with money, that's how you do it, you know? There's no other way to do it. You know, if you're not doing that, then you're putting someone in a higher place than another one. And personally speaking, if you want to do that, that's your freedom. But I think Spiral Tribe's strength and why we're still brothers and sisters after all this time is because we've always been equal, you know? And that's really important. So that equality comes from transparency, because if you're transparent, everyone knows what's going on, and there's no backstabbing, there's no rumors, there's no nothing. There's just truth. So that's something that I think is really important, especially when you come into more commercial scene. That's probably the biggest problem of the commercial rave scene. If you talk about the other side, we talked a lot about free parties, but the commercial rave scene has a major fucking problem with transparency, because no one knows what's going on with money, and everyone says, oh, he's making loads, or he's not, or whatever. No one actually knows, you know? And it breeds a lot of bad feeling, I think, from what I can see. In my experiences of going around talking to people who are working in parties and stuff, everyone's slagging off that guy because he's the one who's supposed to make all the money, but no one actually knows, you know? And that's a shame. It's a shame, because it could have been done differently. It could have been like, okay, we're going to make this party. Okay, you're going to get less than me, but I'm going to show you what that is, and let's be honest, you know? And without that honesty, what you got, you know? I don't think it's a very fair thing. I don't think it's a good thing, you know? But then, you know, that's maybe being too utopic, because when people generally get involved with big money like that, it always goes a bit pear-shaped. Yeah. Hey, the spider came to me. Look at that. I got you a spider. We don't know. Oh, yeah.
I kicked him off. Maybe it's him.
Oh, fucking hell. Spider-Man. Yeah.
You're a DJ, so
Live set.
live set DJ. What do you think you are for a party goers? I mean, for party goers, who's a DJ?
I know how I see DJs. I mean, I've always fucked up. Every time I've met one of my favorite DJs, I've always been the biggest idiot in the fucking planet, and totally pissed them off. And normally they try and get away from me as quick as they can, you know, because you know music touches you so deeply, and sometimes when you meet some of these guys, you're just like, because I'm a fan of music. I always have been. You know, if I met Jimi Hendrix or Bob Marley or someone, I'd just be like, because that's the way I am. I love music, you know, and so it's how it touches you that counts. But what I will say on that, and it's very important, I've got this phrase, and I've said it in many interviews, so sorry if you've heard this one before. The best surfer in the world can't do shit without the wave, right? You can be the technically best surfer, but if you haven't got a wave, you're going nowhere. That's how I see making music, you know? You get on stage, there's people there, there's a need. There's a point of connection that can be found if you can get on the wave. And if you can get on the wave and stay on the wave, that's where the magic is. Because the movements you make and the things that come through are just natural and feel like they're supposed to be in the moment. It's a little bit like Qigong or, you know, that kind of thing, you know. Because many times when I'm playing music on stage, the best moments, time goes like that. And you just come out of it and go, oh, fuck, what was that? All right, you know. And you really feel like you're a doorway, or you feel like you're a puppet, you know. And if you can get into that flow, because there's different ways of doing it, you know. I'm an improviser, I improvise. So what I do on stage, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do when I get on stage, I just do it, you know. And by doing that, I became very much in tune with when it became good. It was normally because I put myself out of the way and just felt what was needed, you know. That's why I get a lot of trouble as a musician, because from the point of playing, you really get this feeling that the best moments are when you kind of just enter into the moment in the same way you would in meditation, or when you're dancing and you really start dancing properly. I think there's a whole process that's like that, you know, that in actual fact, when you really truly do something properly, your mind goes clear and you're just there doing it, you know, properly, and you get deeper into it. And I think it's for this reason that the DJ does have a very important place. It's a strange thing because the equation's really quite crazy. There's one person on stage and 5,000 in the audience. It's very different to having maybe, I don't know, a band of 10 musicians at least and 5,000 people. You're talking about one person is responsible for sometimes maybe 3 or 4 hours, and in the old days it'd have been all night, you know, that person. So I think it's a very important thing to remember that people have sacrificed all week to just get through and be able to get to the weekend, you know. And when they get to the weekend, they're getting ripped off in clubs anyway. So the minimum is to try and make sure that when you're there, you're taking it like it's the most important thing in the world, you know. And if you manage to do that, then I think that gets felt, you know. And if you can make that energy go, then people are able to you know, connect with what we've talked about before, you know.
Yeah. So in terms of vibes that you were talking about, how were the vibes for you in 1990, and how are the vibes now when you play 2017? I think,
you know, going back to waves, you know, the late 80s was like a tidal wave, you know. You had a complete transformation of how we saw music. We went from bands playing songs to acid house, which was, you know, just like a 303 with a drum machine spinning all night, never ending, you know. And before I got involved, I was playing the drums. And so for me, when I heard acid house, I was like, that's drum music. That's the music of percussion. That's the language of percussion, because it's rhythmic patterns with frequential shifts. It's like, it's not notes in a melody going up and down with fixed pitch. The whole thing that trips you out, even though the TB303 could be used for bass lines and fixed pitch stuff, no problem. I think the thing that struck me at that time was that this thing was evolving like a didgeridoo. And it was really doing this incredibly trancing kind of loopy effect. And that was something that before then, I mean, there are examples, you know, but that was when it first hit mass and it made total street sense. You know, it was like you're in London at a massive like underground warehouse party and it makes total sense to be listening to this music because it was heralding, I guess, the very beginnings of accessible studio equipment for the home user rather than the big studios. And it was also a music that was in synergy with, I think, depending on who you listen to, for the guys in Chicago, a lot of them say it was a non-drug thing. And so for them, it was probably a reconnection with percussion music in a deeper sense, you know, and the traditions that go with that, you know. I'm only guessing there, I'm not from there. But I know that in London, the fact that it was called acid house and the fact that everyone was taking acid and MDMA, and no one was drinking, it was just pure water, you know. And, you know, people were really, really blown away. So when something's that exciting because you're at a 0 hour, now that's something that doesn't happen very often. And you got to remember that 0 hour is so exciting that anyone can do anything and it sounds great, you know? Everything's open, you know? No one knows what's going on. The police haven't got a fucking clue, you know? And so you can get away with the most crazy things and everyone's so at the same place because when everyone was at that party in 1988 or round about that time, you could be pretty sure that at least 90% of the people had never taken an E. And that night they were all going like that for the very first time and coming up at the very first time together. Now that's very fucking rare. That does not happen often, that you get a 0 hour like that. Because it was a technological 0 hour, it was a drug 0 hour, and it was a culture 0 hour. You know, it was the beginning of something that has now become all this. So the point I'm trying to get to is that it was easy then, I guess. It was a lot easier for us to get away with everything and experience it, and the energy was so powerful because it was so fresh. Now, what you got to realize is today is completely not that. It's completely not that. Today, the police know everything. You know, they're even to the point in France finding ways to tax people for infractions on their vehicles, making money out of, you know, parking tickets and all that kind of shit, you know. So, and also sound systems are getting taken, properly taken, you know, people are losing equipment. And also when you come to a party, you've got maybe someone who knows all about it for years and years, and then you've got little kiddies coming along like that. So there's a big difference in what's been learned. And it's like, if you take the idea of a tidal wave crashing in, you know, the beginning was the late 80s, and now we're at the point where it's gone all the way up the fucking beach, and it might even be starting to come back down this way again, you know. And so to make something happen there, it's a lot harder. You know, we're talking about the surfer and the wave. We were very, very lucky with Spiral Tribe because we came in at a time where it was easy to surf. You know, now you got to be pretty damn good to make it work. So that puts a lot more pressure on how the thing develops, you know, and how it goes up and how it goes down. So for me, that's an important thing to remember. We're in a movement that's 25 years old now, if not 30 years, you know. And so everyone knows about it. And a lot of people have already heard the music 100 million times over, you know. And even your favorite cake, you can eat it and eat it and eat it, and eventually it'll make you sick because, you know, you've seen too much of it. So, you know, it's an interesting time because you've got some people, veterans who've been there for 25 years, who are constantly looking for that DJ who's going to blow their mind, you know. And then you've got the younger people coming in who are just going, wow, it's all fucking great, you know. And so that's completely different to what it was before. Also, there's a major thing going on because people have now been invested so much time and energy and love, but it's their lives, you know. When we started off in the 90s, everything was just fresh and new. Hey, let's go, fuck it, you know. Now it's like, this is your fucking life. You've put your energy, everything you've got, you've burned every bridge you had to be in this thing and make it go somewhere. And so that's something that I think is felt by sound systems that have been around for a very long time. You see that they're still doing it, they're going for it, but coming back to what we said in the beginning, that's why they should get help from the people, you know? because it's a shame when you see a sound system that's given so much and you see them getting tired and needing help and there's no one there to help them, you know. So I think there's a bit of that going on around some of the scenes, you know, and people are looking for ways to make that balance. And then we wind up in this kind of situation where there's a major compromise going on because you're right in front of the law here. You know, you're dealing with the law in the way that the French Technoal, the Premier May, you know, just look at that. In, I think it was 2003, somewhere like that, Sarkozy, who was Minister of the Interior in France at that time, he basically took Techno from the people. He took it from Sparrow Tribe, you know. We didn't go after that. We never went to a 1st of May because we couldn't go to something that had been taken by Sarkozy. We couldn't let Techno become something that was run by the police. And so the Technovals that went from 2003 up until last year, on the 1st of May, all became kind of like this, with a big fence around it, the police looking in, and it was very clear the energy had changed, because in that space, people were a lot more aggressive, did a lot more littering, didn't really care about keeping the place clean, you know? And then last year, I went to the 1st of May Technoval because they said it was going to be illegal. And I was like, what? Technoval's going to be illegal again? I got to go and check this out, you know? So I went up and had a look. And you had no fence around it, you know? It was by a forest. You could, if you needed to go off and go to the forest, you could and come back, you know? People picked up every last bit of rubbish, you know? People, if someone was, it was a heavy day of rain, some people were falling over off their heads and people were looking after them, you know? The sound systems went from being 120K to being just 20K again. But the music was kicking, you know? And the people, the energy was kicking. So there you have it in a nutshell. If something is illegal and it's people run, it's safer, more clean than if it's taken over by the police, where people kind of go, well, fuck it, you know, police state, who cares, you know? And it does have a massive impact, you know? So that's a really important factor that has had an influence on what happens today, that when we're forced to come into this kind of situation, there's a major compromise going on to make this happen. It's a beautiful thing, Boomtown. It's an amazing event. And I take my hat off to the people who organize it, because it's not easy to do, you know? But there's massive compromises on level of sound, on, you know, dealing with the police and what the authorities want to have happening inside here and stuff. It's a very difficult situation, and it's a massive compromise, so that has an effect on how the thing feels, you know, quite simply, you know. So that's another thing, you know. I think there's one other thing I wanted to say on the Technoal. I've forgotten. There you go.
Yeah, I was actually wanted to ask you a question about the Technivals that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, you said you brought the Technival to Europe. Do you want to please just talk a little bit about Technival, what it is and how it develops in different countries?
Yeah, good. You've just reminded me of what I wanted to say. Technival, Technival the name was coined by Debbie from our crew, and it's a pretty good name. Only thing is, it does put the emphasis on tech. Now, Technival originally was supposed to be a free space where all sound systems and all people could come and do their thing. And that's how it started, and that's how it's pretty much been all the way through. I think the only thing you could maybe mention with regards to all of that is it's a bit of a shame when you've got 50 sound systems and they're all playing the same music. I think that says something about the people themselves. You know, are we truly open-minded if you're not going to let people play, you know, like reggae or house or hip hop or something, and only going to play hard tech, Frenchcore, and, you know, are we truly open-minded or not? You know, it's a question that we have to answer. Everyone has to answer it themselves. There's maybe the saddest thing, I think, for us, the organizers of the originals, is that we hoped it would be much more, you know, polyvalent, that there'd be a lot more kinds of people, you know. It's wicked what's happened. I mean, thinking about it, 1st of May Technival in France is probably the biggest congregation illegal, you know, of illegal music and sound systems in the world. I don't know if there's anywhere else that gets, you know, 60,000 people coming together illegally to make a whole weekend of non-stop music, you know. Because here, it goes to what, 4 in the morning, and then we stop till like midday, something like that. That's what you get in the legal situation. That's it. You don't get around that one. You know, all festivals that are legal stop. Technivals don't stop. Now that's in itself, well, kudos for us. You know, the thing that we set up basically has the freedom to be itself, you know, and defends that freedom to be itself, and also has proven that when it gets made legal, there is more trouble, more danger for the public than when it's left in its own way. So we've proven that. You see, that's what's good. Is Sarkozy, I was well pissed off when he stole our Technival, you know, but he took it, we let him run with it, and he fucked it up. So we took it back, you know. And now we got it back, there's much more of a kind of good feeling amongst people again, you know? Now, that's something that is a human experiment that we all had to live through, something we can learn lessons from, you know? So that's the point. Why do all this for free? If we're doing this for free, it's because we want to learn, you know? It's not just we're going to be like this and that's it. It's like, that's stupid. It's like a Monty Python or something, you know? The meaning of, is it the Life of Brian, you know? Your freedom suddenly starts to have rules, you know? It's like the rule book of a free party, you know? Fuck off. Basically what it is it's an experiment. And if someone has a sound system, they can do it the way they want to do it. You know, if they've learned by doing it that way that it didn't work, they have the right to do that with it. And no fucking public can say shit about it. Go and get your own fucking system and do it. Go and fucking do 10 years of free parties, go and fucking do it, and then come back and complain. You know, let's see how you are when you've given 10 years of your life to something, you know? Simple as that. So, you know, I think the things we've learned over the years have proven that it's a very important thing to keep fighting for that 1st of May Technical to stay illegal, because it's a very special thing, I think. No one else can say that they've had a 25-year running thing illegally, you know, made by the people for the people, you know, that has grown in some years to 100,000 people, you know. That's massive. That's really cool, but you don't hear much about it, you know. Just like you don't hear much about the fact that it was the anarchists that made the Russian Revolution, you know, and it wasn't fucking the Trotskyites, you know. That's another thing. You know.
There's anything else you want to add?
Can I have a beer? Well, okay, very happy to do this interview with you guys. Well done for putting this film together, because I think it's time to look into what we've learned. It's a great way of getting a discussion going. I think that's what we're looking for here, is a discussion, you know. People have got to be more open and not be frightened of being transparent about what's happening, so that we can get to the core of how to take this forward. So hopefully this film will do that. Well, yesterday we talked a lot about free parties, and there was one little thing I forgot to put on the table. That's why the shirt's changed. Yeah, the whole question of free party is, when I'm listening to ravers, when I'm listening to the people who come down, there seems to be a strong feeling about this being a revolutionary kind of action. Doing free parties, this is normally the number one thing that sound systems and musicians hear when we start saying, well, look, we need help, you know, we need some donations or something. A lot of people come up and they get angry. And I think one of the reasons why this film's happening anyway is because in Italy in particular, there's a lot of confusion, and a lot of the ravers are sort of going, well, why are these people, why do they need money, you know? So, you know, the thing is, we talked about this a lot yesterday, but there's one thing we didn't say. There is another option, you know. We could go a different way. One way is donations, that's for sure. That's accepting that because there's money in the scene, then there shouldn't be one rule for one person and another rule for another person. So if one guy can make money in the party, everybody can make money in the party. Now I think we're all okay with that, you know. So if your point, and if you're still confused about free party, why it could be that some of the organisation are now saying, look, we need help us with donations, etc., etc. Well, you just have to think of it like this. You know, if we're in a real revolution, then it has to be everyone together. It can't be, he's got loads of money and he doesn't. He can make money, he can't, you know? So the last option we have, if you really feel strongly about making this a free party revolution, if you really believe that, well then don't buy the drugs, share them. Quite simply, you know. There should be no money on site then, let's do it that way. This is the other option. If we really want to make a free revolutionary movement with no money, then don't buy the drugs, you know. Share the drugs. So that's your other option. I just thought that was kind of needed to be said.
That's actually important, you know, it's funny you said, especially in Italy, there's a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know if I told you where actually my idea of this documentary comes from. It's unfortunately about a comment I read about you and met Weasel Busters on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, there was someone that
About him as well. About him as well.
Yeah, about Spiral Tribes and met Weasel Busters.
So it
Someone
was only
wrote,
about Weasel.
I don't really accept that people like Spiral Tribes met Weasel Busters who started in a rave party. So with the concept of free techno, now you have to pay sometimes 20, 25 pounds. They play in Shoreditch, and they became commercial. So in my mind, say why are there people who think they cannot play being paid?
Yeah. Well, this is the point, because it's a double standard. This is the whole point. These people who have that criticism are forgetting that they've always been giving money to certain people in free parties. So how is it those people are not commercial then? You know, if you're going to give money over that way, then you're supporting a whole industry, you know? And so if you're going to have this double talk about underground and free, you know, well then you can't buy the drugs, because if you're buying the drugs, you're supporting a industry, you know, of one level or another. So then you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're actually being hypocritical, because you're saying that this lot, they can't make money, you know, but this lot they can. And so that's your revolution? I mean, what the fuck? I mean, I think that's where we're all a little bit sort of confused, because quite honestly, as I said yesterday, a scene needs to be able to look after its own people. And this is exactly the reason why Spiral Tribe, you find us not as Spiral Tribe, but as SB23, going into venues and doing things for money, because quite honestly, the scene couldn't look after us. And it's the same all over. Everywhere it's the same. Now, how would you feel if you were giving your life to something, always for free, doing it for free, and that guy over there was buying a house, you know, and that guy over there was buying a good truck, and that guy over there was buying another sound system, which is cool, you know. I got no problem with that. That's all okay. But there comes a point where it's sort of like, why can he make money and I can't? You know, if we as a scene go, yes, we can buy drugs, well then, yes, you can give a donation to the sound system, you know. Or we just say, quite simply, there's no money here. You know, don't bring money, you know, don't bring money to this party. You want a revolution, let's do that. And if you're doing that, I'm there. Don't worry, I'll come and play for free every single fucking time. If there's no money on site, I'm there. But if you're going to tell me I'm coming down to play to be this underground kind of revolution, and that guy over there's just fucking bought a house, or, you know, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to think? You know? And I think that's what people are not seeing. You know, they're not seeing that. And it's stupid. They should wake the fuck up. You know, let's do it. You want a free revolution? Let's do it. You know? But then let's get real. You know, let's stop fucking about here. You know, when you come to a free party, you share. You know, you don't buy, you share. If you want to do that, I'm there, mate. You know, no problem. But if we're sticking with the model that we got at the moment, you can't expect musicians and artists and sound systems to carry on with that. It's a load of fucking, you know, it's just, it's a contradiction, you know. It's like, you got to be free, but that guy over there can make all the money. Come on, get real.